We have to win in November, or we're not going to have Pennsylvania. They'll change the name. They're going to change the name of Pennsylvania.
Michael, you said something the other day that I was like, yes. Now, Donald Trump, obviously, he has trouble stringing a sentence together. But the American people, the voters at least, do not think of him as senile or crazy or the inability to put a sentence together. And they're not registering concerns about his age. And I think it's because there has not been a sustained campaign from the time that Donald Trump came onto the stage, down that little elevator, to brand him as such.
I agree. And the reason why it's hard, in my estimation, to do it is because Donald Trump is so damn entertaining. And because he's entertaining us, you don't look at him through the same critical lens. You look at the guy who is obviously much more serious, the President of the United States. So you then pick apart those flaws that the guy that you find entertaining has as well, right? Can't put the sentence together correctly, wants to rename Pennsylvania. And so that says a lot about how Donald Trump stepped into this space and why he is the P.T. Barnum of politics, why he is the guy who's running the circus around everybody and running everyone through the circus. And you find the high wire act, the clown car, all these various pieces are moving around at the same time, and he's orchestrating that movement. And it's all centered on him, and you find it entertaining. You're not looking at Donald Trump. People react. A lot of people react, I think. But there's not this same critical assessment of him, which is why they don't see the issue when he has an Access Hollywood tape, why that's a problem, right? And they don't see that there's an issue when he goes out and calls Nikki Haley's name instead of Nancy Pelosi. Because they're being so entertained by everything else, they're not looking critically at that. That's how I see it, and I think that gives him an advantage. And you're right, the Dems and others need to just break that some kind of way.
But I wonder to what extent this is also true because Democrats have focused their attacks on the criminality, on the moral
recently
question.
It wasn't before, when originally it was just he was dangerous because he was inexperienced.
There's some great reporting by McKay Coppins in the Atlantic about how, Trump, during his time as like an entertainer and a businessman, always wanted to have the level of control and authority that he's been able to assert over the Republican Party. There's this great anecdote about him going to Jeff Zucker at the time that they were doing The Apprentice, and he says, I want to make as much as the cast of Friends combined, and he's like, I'll give you $60K. And it was Jeff Zucker saying no that made Donald Trump come back and say, all right, I'll take the $60K. And what stuck out to me is the fact that that's what we've not seen from Republicans. We've not seen anyone willing to say no. He's not a master negotiator. He doesn't actually understand the art of the deal. This is a persona that he has crafted that has only been successful inside this Republican Party.
Then I think what is really important, this is like first of all, people should read the McKay Coppins piece because it was great.
Excellent.
But to this point about that people are looking at him as an entertainer and not critical, I think that's why the criticism, like us playing the sound this morning, is critical. Like talking about the things that Donald Trump is saying and doing is critical and important because he should be scrutinized at the highest level. His statements should be picked apart. Like we should play the sound. And I should say he cannot string together a coherent sentence. Meanwhile, Joe Biden absolutely can and is doing all these other things to, save the republic. Donald Trump has escaped accountability on so many fronts. I think because not just Republican voters, but other people were very entertained.
Everybody's
Maybe people that not people that work here, but some other people.